Greetings, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to the Kamado Joe Cooking Channel. Thanksgiving is just around the corner and we are going to do yet another Thanksgiving turkey cook this week. So one of the things I want to show you this week is we're going to use a recipe that's out of a new book that I recently purchased. This is called Exclusively Kamado. It is another really interesting Kamado cookbook by Paul Sidoriak, and forgive me if I pronounce that incorrectly. Check my video description. I'll have a link to where you can pick up a copy of this book. We are going to use Paul's recipe this year for our Thanksgiving turkey cook. I'm going to change up our technique just a little bit for it, but we're going to use the ingredients recipe in the book. So let's get started. This is really the only point I'm going to deviate from Paul's recipe. I'm going to make a brine. I prefer to brine my turkeys and my chickens before we cook them. So I'm going to need about 2 gallons of water. I've got a 15-pound turkey, and the container I'm going to brine it in is going to need about 2 gallons of water to cover this turkey completely. So I've got 2 gallons of cold water here. I have 1 cup of sea salt, and I've also used 1 cup of the Kamado Joe peppered sea salt. We're just going to dump that in. I've got 2 cups of brown sugar that's going in there also, and then I've got about 1/4 cup of hot sauce, and I'm just using the sriracha hot sauce for this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to stir this up until all that salt and sugar dissolves. Okay, now that I've got all that sugar and salt dissolved in my water, I'm going to put this in the refrigerator overnight to let this chill. You need your brine to be really cold for obvious reasons. You don't want your turkey to sit at a warmer temperature for any length of time. So I'm going to chill this. There's a couple of things you can do to speed up the process of creating a chilled brine. You can dissolve your sugar and salts in just half of the amount of water you need and then add it back to ice water to help get it chilled down. That's one way to do it. So do whatever you need to do to get your brine dissolved and chilled, and after this is chilled, I'm going to come back and we'll put the turkey in it. Okay, I've let our brine chill overnight. It's right at 35 degrees, so it's ready to use. And I have taken my turkey out of the packaging. I have a 15-pound turkey here, and I removed the neck and the giblets package, but I'm going to leave the leg holder in place for a while. So now I'm going to transfer this guy into my brining bucket, and we're just going to pick it up and try not to drop it. I'm going to set it right in my bucket there, and then we're going to dump in our brine, and I'm going to put enough brine in there to cover the turkey completely. And then I'm going to put my lid on the brining bucket, and we're going to put this back in the refrigerator, and I'm going to let this brine for at least 15 hours. We want to go at least 1 hour per pound and no more than 2 hours per pound. So we're going to brine it, and then we'll be back when it's time to fire up the grill. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to make our basting rub for this turkey, and this is one of the beautiful parts of Paul's recipe here, is this particular base. What we're going to start out with in the food processor, about 1/2 cup of parsley, about 1/2 cup of sage, all of this is fresh, about 1/2 cup of rosemary, and about 1/2 cup of thyme. All of this is fresh grown from my garden except for the parsley, and it's had all the stems removed. And the next thing we're going to do is add 1/2 pound or 2 sticks of softened butter. We're going to put all this in the food processor, and then we're going to blend this up. And that's what we're looking for, is just a buttery consistency with all of those herbs chopped up. So now I'm going to take this off. We're going to set this aside, and we're going to use this on the turkey. Oops, I almost forgot. We were using unsalted butter, and we're going to add 2 tablespoons of salt and 2 tablespoons of freshly ground black pepper to this also. And I'm gonna blend that again for just a moment, and that will finish this off. Then we're gonna set it aside, and then it goes into a turkey. Next thing we're gonna do is fire up the grill. I've got one Kamado Joe fire starter cube in a hole down here in the middle of my charcoal, so I'm going to light it up with my torch, and we're going to let it burn here for 10 minutes or so with the lid open. Okay, while the grill's warming up, we're going to do something that some of you have seen me do before. I've taken some aluminum foil here and I've made a pouch, and I've opened it up on one end, and I'm going to take some of my leftover herbs and fold them up, stuff them in this pouch. We're going to start with the rosemary, and this is some of that fresh sage that I had harvested from my garden, and we're going to stuff it in there. And we're going to put a good little bunch of thyme, that fresh thyme. We're going to wad it up and stuff it in there too. And we're going to make sure we get that sealed up really well on the edges, and we're just going to kind of mash it flat and get all the air out of there that we can, and fold it over double on the open end, and fold it over double on each of the other edges as well to make sure that it's sealed up fairly well. And we are going to use this for our smoke on this cook rather than using a wood chunk. So what I'm going to do now is take my knife and just put 2 or 3 very small slits in the top of that pouch, and we are going to set that right down on top of our charcoal right before we put the turkey on. Okay, I've got my turkey out of the brine, and the next thing we want to do is dry this guy off as best we can. So I'm going to pat it down with dry paper towels for a bit until I get as much of the moisture off of the skin as I can. So our next step is going to be to start rubbing on our seasoning with all that butter. We're going to get this bird coated all the way up, every surface of it. We're going to get a good coat on it, and I'm also going to try to get a good bit of this underneath the skin of this bird. Okay, after we get this bird covered really well with this seasoning and get it up under the skin, it's about time to go back out to the grill. So let's go out there and have a look. I've also reserved a little bit of this rub that we're going to baste with as we cook. Okay, we're back out to the grill, and here's where we're going to vary a bit from some techniques that we've done in the past. I've got my divide and conquer flexible cooking system in place, and I'm going to set my smoke packet that we made right on top of the charcoal, and then I'm going to set my heat deflectors in the lowest position on the grill. And then next, I'm going to put my accessory rack down in its low position, and I've got this pan that I'm going to set right on the accessory rack, and in this pan I'm going to put 1 chopped onion, and I've got about 2 cups of chopped celery and chopped carrots that we're going to put in this pan. And I've also got a little bit more of that leftover rosemary I'm going to stick in there just because I have it, some thyme, and a little bit of that sage that we had left over as well. And then I'm going to pour in some chicken broth. I've got 4 cups of chicken broth here. I'm probably not going to use all. I might use all of it. Yeah, we're going to use the entire 4 cups of chicken broth in there. And then I'm going to set each half of my grill right up on top above that pan, and then we'll go get the turkey. Okay, now we're going to open up and get our turkey on the grill. We're going to set this guy right in the middle, right over this pan, just like that. And Paul likes to cook his breast side down. I like to cook my breast side up, so do whatever you feel is best on that. So we're going to let this cook. We're going to bring the grill temperature up to about 350 degrees for this cook. It's not up to that temperature yet, but I wanted to go ahead and get this on, so I'm going to close it up and I'll show you where we'll set the vents. Okay, I'm going to set the bottom vent of my Joe about maybe 1.5 to 2 inches open, And on the top vent, I'm going to close the slider all the way and leave the daisy wheel fully open. And we're just going to watch this until we get up to 350. And then if I need to warm it up, I'll open the slider a little bit, or if I need to choke it down, I'll close the daisy wheel. We'll do all our fine temperature control from up here until we get to 350. And we'll start the timer on this cook because we're going to cook this until we get up to 160 degrees in the thick part of the breast. And we're going to baste as we go. Okay, folks, we've been going for a little over an hour here. So I'm going to open this guy up and we're going to baste it once again with a little bit of our baste. I took this and put it in a little iron container and set it on the stove top to melt that butter, and I'm just gonna baste all over the surface of this guy. Man, it smells beautiful. I wish you could smell this. Paul's seasoning blend here, the parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Imagine that. Oh man, it smells beautiful. So we're gonna baste this. We're gonna keep it cooking. Like I said, we're cooking at around 350, so we'll be back a little bit closer to time for it to be done, and we'll probably baste it again. Okay guys, we've been going for a little over 2 hours now, so I'm gonna open this back up and we're gonna baste it again. I'm gonna hit it all over. We got a lot of sunlight coming in here on us today, so I apologize for that. We're just gonna baste all over the top side of this bird. We'll get it everywhere. I got plenty of this left, so this just smells phenomenal. Alrighty, so we're gonna keep on cooking. It's not gonna be a whole lot longer till this guy's ready to come off. Oh, it smells great. Okay guys, we're at about the 2.5 hour mark. My internal temperature on this meat is up around 140 to 145, so I'm going to baste it one more time and then I'm going to close it up and we're going to let it go until I get up to the 160 temperature I'm looking for. I know most of you are thinking 165, but this bird will continue to cook for a few minutes after we take it off the grill, and it will get up to 165 where it's going to be finished. So I'm going to make this last baste. We're going to close the grill up and we'll come back to have a look at it when it's done. We're not too terribly far away. Okay, we're done. We've been going just about 3 hours. This turkey is absolutely beautiful. It smells delicious, and we are at 160 in multiple places in the thick part of the breast. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this guy off the grill. I'm going to take it inside and we're going to tin it with foil and let it sit for 30 minutes or so before we decide to cut it. Okay guys, this thing's rested up. I'm going to take a little slice right off of this here on the edge. Oh man, can you see that? Make sure you see how that juice is running out of there. That looks awesome. Look at that. We'll be right back. That's about as juicy as it gets. I'm gonna take a little piece of that and gonna have a little taste of that white meat. I'm a dark meat fan. Man. That's enough of that. I'm gonna get one of these legs off of here and we're gonna see what happens next. Guys, I'm all about me some drumstick, and let me tell you, this one looks delicious. It's absolutely juicy. I'm gonna have a bite. Man, that's really good. Paul, you've done a great job with your exclusively Kamado book. I know we didn't follow your recipe exactly. We followed it pretty closely though. The basic idea of the flavoring and everything's there. Man, that's really good. I can't wait to finish that off. That leg is my dinner tonight. So guys, let me know what you think about this. This is a good idea for Thanksgiving coming up this week. So let us know what you think. Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/KamadoJoe. Follow us on Twitter @KamadoJoe. And until next time, I'm John Setzler with Kamado Joe Cooking Channel.